How often do you wish you could go back in time and tell your past self the lessons that you have just learned so you could speed up the timeline from where you were to where you want to be? And that's what today's episode is all about. I'm sharing with you 8 lessons from the last 8 years running my coaching business. Started it in 2017, so way before the COVID bubble happened. And wow, there has been so many lessons, but I've picked out 8 that I think are the most critical, the most important lessons to have learned in that time. And hopefully they can help you to speed up your timeline to the place where you're feeling successful in your coaching business. So stay tuned. They're coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and over the last 25 years in marketing and business, I've helped many brands to launch, scale, and grow, with some of them becoming multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here to inspire you to get out of your own way and create a profitable, fulfilling business while living the lifestyle you really desire, without all the hustle. So I bring you She's the Business podcast, a unique blend of strategies, tactics, mindset, health, and spirituality, literally everything you need to be the successful leader of your dream business. Made by women for women, this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
So my daughter recently turned 8, which means that just over 8 years ago, I was in hospital with a newborn. And in that moment, I pushed the button on starting this coaching business. I was so determined to start a business during my maternity leave so that I actually wouldn't have to go back to the corporate world after that. And it wasn't because I hated my job. In fact, I actually loved it. I was head of marketing. I had an amazing team. I was working for a company that was really going places. But I could just see this absolute clash of values beginning to happen in my life, where my view of what life looked like when I had young kids and raising them to, really enjoy and make the most out of every day in life did not mean that I was stuck in an office in the city while they were being looked after by other people, and really just having this complete conflict between work and life. And so I thought, I think I can make it happen where I can work from home, I can work for myself, and also I can make a much bigger impact in the world than I can working for one company. I'm making shareholders happy in one company, but if I worked for myself and helped other people with their businesses, then I could actually have a far greater impact in helping other people become successful. And that really fired up my fulfillment value. Like, I really wanted to feel that amount of fulfillment from my work, to think that I was making a difference in other people's lives. And I wasn't just tramping off to the office every day and working on a computer to make a few shareholders richer. So that was the moment that kind of set me off on this brand new path. And wow, I can't believe it's been 8 years already. So many lessons and learnings over that time. You would think that starting a business, I decided, really early on that I was going to coach people on their marketing strategy, because I'd just spent 20 years of my professional life doing that for businesses and, being really successful doing that. So I thought I can bring all of that expertise to other people. But yet there were many lessons about being in business for yourself, actually becoming a personal brand that I'd never done before. I was very comfortable behind the scenes and I'd never been the face of the business before. And also what it actually takes to stay the distance. They are not joking when they say entrepreneurship, it is a ride. There are ups, there are downs. There are times that you think that's it, it's all over. And if you just get up and keep going again, then hey, it continues, right? So I thought I would do an episode today with my 8 lessons from 8 years. While there are so many more lessons, I'm going to start with these 8, and then, well, maybe I'll do a follow-up episode with some more lessons if you find these ones good. So please let me know when you've listened in. Today to this episode, whether you find these lessons useful and if you would like more, because I have a whole stack more. I have had lessons on steroids, I'd say, for the last few years. So let's start with number one. Number one, oh my goodness, I did not realize that entrepreneurship was going to be a massive journey of personal development. I thought it was literally like, let's do business, let's get the strategy done and do the things. I thought I knew how to do it. And I didn't realize that me and the part I play in actually being the golden goose of the business, like as in the business doesn't exist without me, right? I did not realize what that truly meant at the time of starting. You are your own biggest limitation. That is the lesson. If your business is going slow, if things aren't happening, stop looking externally for all the reasons as to why it's happening. The number one reason is staring back at you when you look in the mirror. And I say that with love, with compassion. Please take that kindly, because I have found that myself so many times. And, new level, new devil, you'll get over one limitation and then another one will pop up. So I think it's like, let's embrace it. Let's embrace this ability to have a mirror placed in front of us so often that we can see the things that are literally holding us back in business. And guess what? They're usually absolutely linked to things in your personal life as well. So the beautiful silver lining of all this is, as you resolve the limitations holding you back in business, you're going to find improvements happening in your life as well at the same time. So yeah, it is an absolute win-win. You get to grow, you get to evolve, you get to become a person that you didn't even realize was within you before. Like if I look back and think that person I was 8 years ago, oh my goodness, I have changed so much in a really good way, and I'm not a different person. I've still got my friends, I've got friends I've had since I was, before school. So 3 and 4 years old, they're still my friends. And I think they would see me and just see me as being, I'm still me. But when you look at the layers and the things, the fears that held you back, all the stuff that used to go on in my mind about who I needed to be and how this was supposed to be and all the shoulds and the coulds, trying to fit in to other people's expectations all the time, that has gone. There's so much that is making my life so much better now. The, real lack of judgment from other people, which is obviously why I share some of these lessons with you today, because I really don't care if someone judges me critically about these lessons and thinks, well, they're stupid. I know that this is going to help somebody. There is someone out here today who needs to hear what I'm about to share, and I'm doing it for them. I'm not doing it for all the other people who think that they know it already or they've heard it or whatever other criticism they may have of me. I really don't care anymore. And that you would have used to hold me back. I would have stopped from doing this. The old me, will say past me, would have cared. She would have thought, no, I've got to say something that everybody's going to like. Now I don't really care whether you like me or not. Hopefully you do if you're here listening, but you know what? It's not going to change anything about my life, whether you do or don't. I will drink my coffee, I'll record this, and then I'll continue. So yes, this is lesson number one. You are your own biggest limitation. Success is 100% an inside job. So look inwards, look for the insights, the lessons that you can learn about yourself, the fears that are holding you back, the fears that are stopping you from making the right decision. Work on those and you will find exponential results externally because of it. The second lesson is switching gears completely here to the strategy piece. No matter how awesome your offer is, if you think you've got an amazing, incredible service at such good value, if people don't want it, they're not buying. So I think that this is something I find happens a lot, and it's because of the way we were taught. If you come from a part of business in the past where you work for other people, I know this was certainly me, where you would get told, well, this is a product. Now figure out how to market it. Go and find clients for it. And so we'd sit in a boardroom and we'd come up with strategy. We'd figure out, well, who's going to be the right buyer for this? Well, I found that that is completely backwards. Okay, we should not be coming up with a product and then trying to find buyers for it. That's insanity when you think about it, right? Because why aren't we thinking, who is the person we want to serve? What is it that they need help with? And then we're creating an offer or a solution for that. Because clearly the problem already has that solution. So there's already a need for your offer if you're doing it that way around. So we're flipping the switch. Create it backwards. So start with the person, start with what it is that they need, and then create your offer. You already know who the buyer is, right? So it's actually just a matter of connecting it with them. Now the question is, well, how do I find more of those people? Where are more of them? And can I improve the way that I'm speaking to them so that they're seeing this as the right solution for them? Because I'm sure that you would relate to this if you've been in business any amount of time. How often do you see people out there who are exactly the kind of person who you can help? You see that they're struggling with the problem that you help solve, and yet they keep on going past. They don't engage, they don't connect. And it feels like they don't actually see your solution as the solution to their problem. It's like there's a gap there. There's a missed connection point that's happening in their brain. How often does that happen? Yeah, well, that's a sign that there's probably something about the way that you're talking about it, about your messaging, that is skipping the connection for them. So, which is great. It means it's a really simple problem to solve. You don't have to go and change your offer. You don't need a new offer. You don't need to go out there and convince someone who doesn't actually want it that it's for them. These people already want what it is that you have. So we just need to connect with them. And also remember, the lesson here is if someone doesn't already want it, they're not your ideal client. They're not going to buy your offer no matter how good it is. So stop trying to convince people who don't want the outcome that they should want the outcome, okay? That's where there's a lot of marketing mishaps going on. I see people creating content, trying to convince people that they should want this outcome, that they should want something different, and that they have a problem. I get the DMs, the cold DMs. Oh, you have a problem with this and that, and I've got a solution for it. I'm like, oh, thank you for telling me what you think my problem is. But if I don't think that's a problem, I don't care. I don't care about it, right? And it's all just opinions. So what is the problem someone actually wants to solve? That's where your offer comes in. Moving along, lesson number 3. If you're not positioning yourself as an expert in a specific niche, then you're invisible. Let me say that again. If you're not positioning yourself as an expert in a specific niche, and obviously this is very linked to the problem that you're solving, what it is that you're offering, then you're invisible. How many times do I hear my clients say, I feel like a hidden gem. It's like I'm the best kept secret in the market. No matter what I do, people just aren't connecting with me. They're not engaging. I see other people out there on social media getting lots of comments and likes. I know that people are out there, but they're not seeing me. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because you're not being specific. You're not saying what you need to say to show your expertise. Maybe you know it and maybe you see your expertise, but if they're not seeing it, then you're not standing out. So positioning. Doing more marketing, which is what most people do to try to solve this problem. They think I just need to do more and then people will see me. Well, more marketing does not solve a positioning problem. If your positioning sucks, as in you don't have any really strong positioning that makes you very clear, very specific and stand out, then doing more marketing isn't going to do anything except wear you out, grind you down, make you feel like a complete failure. You probably think, oh, the problem's me and I should just quit. I'm not cut out for business. No, that's not true. The problem is not you. It's just that you're not being clear enough. Okay, there's a lot of noise in our world. Think about it. Like go online, go on your social media. Wow, we're being talked at all day long. There's stuff everywhere. You cannot escape it. It's very noisy. So we don't want to be complicated about this. We want to be really clear, really specific. And yes, it may be uncomfortable to do this, and I get it. You don't want to cut off or leave out things that people might want that you could be paid for. That sounds like it would be a bad idea to do that, doesn't it? You think, well, that would mean I'd have less opportunities, but actually leaving out some of those things so that you can be more clear and specific about the thing that you do best, so you can attract the right clients, like as in your absolute dream clients you can get really good results for. It's a good thing to actually shed some of those layers. Doesn't mean that you can't do them, doesn't mean that you can't offer them behind the scenes later on. But for your marketing, please understand how important specificity is. If you don't have specific, really crystal clear positioning, then you are invisible. And we all know that being invisible is not going to help you attract the right clients. It's just going to make it life hard. So yes, those are my first 3 lessons. So we're on to lesson number 4. And I learned this the long, hard way. If you don't value your services, then they won't value them either. For too long, I undercharged. I thought I needed to come in at the bottom of the market. I treated myself as I was someone new because my business was new. And I thought I needed to kind of work my way up. And looking back, I just think, wow, that thought has been conditioned into me since I was young, because it's the way that the world of employee land works, right? You get a job when you're at school. I certainly had my first job when I was at high school. You start at the bottom and you work your way up. And here I was in my late 30s at the time, 8 years ago, with 20 years experience, professional experience behind me. And I was thinking I have to start at the bottom and work my way up. Wow, how long is it going to take me to actually be successful in business if I was applying that? I wasn't valuing my expertise. I wasn't valuing my experience. I wasn't valuing what I did. And therefore, I attracted clients who also didn't value it, and at a price point that clearly wasn't valuing it at all. And because I hadn't put that value on it, they weren't seeing this as something they needed to pay attention to. And I was actually missing out on the clients who did think it was of value, because they were thinking, well, that's so cheap, it's not going to be very good, right? I was actually canceling out and repelling the clients that I really wanted to attract, simply because I wasn't valuing what I did correctly, like in the proper way. I wasn't pricing it and positioning it with that value in mind. So I know that this is something you can hear over and over again. You can literally hear it so many times, and it's not until you actually do it that you're really, really going to understand it to the level that it is evident, because the results only come after you try. When I realized that I was undervaluing, and I thought there's only one way to find out if I should be pricing this higher, if I should be actually much higher. And I looked around, I thought, well, there's people charging probably more than 10 times more than I am. And I don't think they're more experienced. I don't think they have more value to offer. They've just got more balls. They're just a bit more gutsy than me. So I was like, okay, well, at the time, my business wasn't making the money I needed it to. And the consequence of that was going to be having to give it up and go back and get a job. I did not want to do that. So that was enough of a reason for me to give this a try, to get confident enough to decide I'd put out a premium level offering. When I did, the sales was so much easier, faster, incredibly. Like I was suddenly being paid more than double, sometimes up to 4 times more than I had been before. And it was easier, right? I was working with better clients. It was fantastic. So the moment I decided to value my offering, the experience, the results that I can help people get, then they valued it too. And sales came about because of that, which is a win-win. It's you that decides it's time to play it bigger. Like there's literally, you do not need to wait for permission from anybody else out there that it's time, that you've done enough, that now you can raise your prices, that now you can, position yourself as an expert. It is literally up to you, knowing that it's time for you to play it bigger. And I hope that it doesn't mean that you've got to get to the place in your business where you were like me thinking, well, it's either give it up or give this a go. Please do it sooner. Please don't get to that place. Lesson number 5 is that there is no one best way. I know that we all want it. This is the number one question you will see entrepreneurs ask in Facebook groups, in online forums. It's like, what's the best way to do this? Or what's the right way to do that? Everyone wants, and I think it's our subconscious minds actually are looking for the best right way. We want to do it the best way because we don't want to do it the wrong way. We don't want to do it the way that's not very efficient or not very effective. But because we're looking for the best way, we're often just trying all these different things, not really thinking, hang on, I need to figure out what is the way that's most aligned for me in my business. And there is a way that is most aligned for you. There are lots of ways that are not. But usually what's happening is instead of looking for that alignment, you're actually just listening to some person out on Instagram telling you Instagram reels are what you need to be doing. And so you're blindly following them, and then wondering why things aren't changing. Well, because it's not about it's not the best way for them. It's the best way for you. You're different. You've got a different business. And I think that this is one of the things I love to educate my clients on is kind of how to make those decisions about what is going to be most aligned and what's going to work and fit the best, because I really want you to be designing this sort of business that is right for you. What's right for me isn't necessarily right for you. I do not ever give someone a carbon copy of my business and say, I just did this, so you go and do that. I'm like, no, I'll give you the principles that I used, the principles that I see have made success, and not just my business, but in many people's businesses. It's how it's a principle because we're applying the same principle, not a 7-step method on how to do social media. So when we apply the principles, then you're tailoring it to your own situation. You're tailoring it to your expertise, your ideal client, the way that you want to work. Like, what does success look like for you? What does your business having life in balance look like for you? For some people, it looks like working 10 hours a week. For other people, they're like, well, no, I like to work more. I want to be working 20 hours a week. Some people want to have a business that's really just them and maybe a VA to support them. Others see themselves with a team, and maybe even with a much bigger team and with different locations. The possibilities are really endless. It's about you designing what's right for you so that you get to the vision of what success looks like for you, and that is why we can't just do a carbon copy of someone else. It's not the same. Like what they have in their vision, what they're designing theirs for is not going to be the same as yours. They're going to have some similarities maybe, but I don't think anyone can ever say it's exactly the same because you are the one unique factor that's always going to be different, and the way that you do something is going to be different to the way someone else does. So let's continue. That lesson was that there is no one best way. So lesson number 6 is kind of similar, is why you can't follow someone else's method and expect the same results. You're not a cookie. So I've kind of wrapped those two up into one there and had a big chat about it. Now, lesson number 7 is that people love real people. Gosh, this took me a while to drop the professional corporatism that I'd really honed over 20 years. I'd learned how to be professional. I'd learned how to write in a professional manner. I remember this time I worked for the Royal Bank of Scotland in London, and my boss used to sit down and rewrite my emails that were going to a higher up boss. Like, gosh, talk about teaching someone not to trust their own words. But no, he felt like he needed to rewrite some of mine because they were a bit too direct. I was a bit strong with some of my language and he wanted to soften it and all of this stuff. So, I took that on board as meaning, wow, the way I did it wasn't right and I needed to change all of that stuff. And it's like, I've spent the last 8 years unlearning that, learning that being me, saying it the way that I want to say it is the best way to say it. Being direct. Some of my clients, they love how direct I am. I won't hold back. I'll say it. And they even laugh and say to me, you say you're being direct, but you're so nice about it. You could be a lot harsher. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just trying to be upfront and honest with you. And I'm going to tell you it the way that I see it. So people love that. They love real people. They want to get to know you. They don't want your professional, polished images. They want to see the real person. And that meant for me, I embraced taking photos myself. Yep. You'll look at my Instagram. There is like majority of them selfie photos, lots of me just talking to camera out on my walk, because I get the best ideas when I'm out walking, right? So I'm walking along the beach path. It's windy and I'm probably sweaty, a bit red in the face. I'm wearing my workout gear, a cap. I'm not really ready for the video. But the thing is that in the moment when you have those ideas, it's often when it's right on, it's just flowing out of you absolutely naturally. And you know that it sounds great because it's sounding really good to yourself at the time. And I thought, you know what? I don't think I want to wait until I'm back home. I've had a shower, done all these things, probably need something to eat because I'd be hungry. And by then I've just lost the whole train of thought. And you try to bring it back and it's never quite the same, is it? So I decided I'm just going to do it where I am, as I am. If there's a bit of wind blowing on the microphone and not sounding amazing, so be it. That's not really, someone's not going to criticize me for the wind if I'm saying something that they really think is valuable and important. So I dropped all of that need to be professional and need to be flawless and perfect like we were trained. Certainly in marketing, my goodness, the brand guidelines, they're specific down to the millimeter of how things need to be. And unlearning that, learning to just be more human, learning to be myself, to share the stuff with you, to be unscripted. That has been really great lesson. And oh my goodness, so freeing as well, because you think, well, I am just going to do it now. I'm going to post it and we'll just see what happens. I've never had anyone say to me, oh goodness, you're way too raw and real, or, whatever. I've never had any negative comment. Let's just say that. And I've done all sorts of very raw and real posts while I've been out and about in the moment. So yeah, embrace it. Embrace yourself, just who you are, where you are in the moment, because we just love that connection, don't we? Lesson number 8 is overnight success takes time. So get some sleep. Yeah, I know that you might think that's a little bit silly or too light, but seriously, it's not about the amount of work you're doing. It's not about it being like fast and wow. Detaching from time and the time that you think it should take is absolutely essential, because if you don't detach from it, you're starting every day thinking, why aren't I there yet? Why is this taking so long? Oh, other people, blah, blah, blah. You compare yourself to everybody out there. It is not about the amount of time. It will take the time that it takes. You're holding it back right now. And the more you're focusing on that time and the gap, then guess what keeps on happening? You're literally manifesting it to be slower. You're making the gap happen because you're focusing on the gap instead of thinking, gosh, look what I've done. Look how far I've come already. Be excited about it. Think it may, I don't know, when is it going to happen that I reach that first goal? Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it next month? Is it next year? I don't know. But I'm just going to do what I can to get there. I'm going to look after myself on the way, get some sleep, and really just not worry about the time frame. So many people in the spiritual space and energetics say time is irrelevant. It's nothing. It's an instant. It's an eon. Time is sort of something that doesn't even really exist. It's just on our wrist, on a watch, or on a clock. But in the whole scheme of things, it's not about time. You don't give yourself a 3 months and say, this has to happen within 3 months. And if it doesn't, oh my goodness, then I'm a failure. Well, what if it happens next week or in month 4? Does that mean you're a failure? No, of course not, right? So we stop attaching to time as being this all-in thing. The more you detach from it and the more you're just present in the moment, you are where your feet are, you are here, and you're thinking about what you need to do to take that next step forward instead of, getting shameful on yourself about how long you've taken or looking back and bringing in all that negative energy. I think that you're going to find it happens a lot faster for you simply because you're detaching from it. And, just to kind of bring in an example of this, I discovered, because I used to sell my Business Jam program as a sort of a 3-month, I'll call it an intensive, although it wasn't that intense, a 3-month program, right? And the promise being that you're going to attract in your high quality clients. You're actually going to become really profitable in the hours that you want to work, get that strategy sorted. And yes, while you can do the strategy piece within the 3 months, it's really so much about the implementation, putting it out there. And I found that so many people would attach to this 3-month timeline and think if they don't have it in 3 months, then they've failed. And that's it, it's all over. It's like, no, it's not meant to be like that. You're in business, it takes time. It is going to be something that's now with you for however long you choose to remain in business. This strategy is something you're always going to be tweaking, optimizing, realigning when it gets out of alignment. It's never something that's sort of like that box is ticked and done. Now I don't do it anymore. You'll have moments where you are in that strategy. You're redefining your positioning. You're thinking about the right offer to be offering, and it'll change as everything evolves over time. You will evolve. Nothing's going to stay permanent. So I've realized that by making my program 3 months, I was actually giving them that timeline, that time frame to think that's when they had to have it done by. And if they weren't already successful within the 3 months with doing it and having, 500% growth, which is what some of my clients have experienced, then they had failed and it wasn't for them. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to change this. I'm going to make Business Jam where you come in for a whole year, because we all know that you have moments in life where things happen where you're not able to continue at the momentum you have been. You might have a really great month and then need to take a bit of time for school holidays. Or, I had a client who had a cycling accident and she literally just had to, recover from that. She wasn't able to keep going at the momentum she had been. So, life happens. So let's give yourself a lot longer. And when we think about having a container of a year where you're having weekly coaching sessions, you can attend them when you want to, when you're ready to. Won't matter if you don't attend for a little bit of time, but it's just giving you that idea that it's longer. Business isn't going to take 3 months or a year and then you're done. This is something that you're in now for the long term. We're in it for the marathon. A year is nothing in the whole life of your business. Goodness, goes by in a heartbeat. But within that year, you're absolutely going to nail your strategy. You're going to have put it out there, be implementing it, have your lead generation system in place, be seeing that working. You've got time to actually go through and do all the things that are in Business Jam to that level. And of course, you're going to continue to optimize it after that. You can also continue to stay in the coaching if you want to. But changing that time frame is actually just so important, because it's going to stop people from thinking, I've got this deadline of 3 months and then, it's done. So time, that last lesson is overnight success. It takes time. How long it takes for you, nobody knows. You're the only one who will ever know that, right? Some people have these stories of overnight success and you think, oh, well, they just started a business in 4 weeks and it's made however many over 6 figures. Yeah, maybe it has, but they might not have told you the whole story. Is this their 5th business that they're starting? have they already got all these foundations in place because they've already had 4 businesses in the past and they literally just started a new business? Technically, yes, but they're not actually starting from zero, from nothing. They're building on the building blocks that they already had. Those stories are out there, but they tend to only tell you the part about it being a new business and what they reached in the first month or 3 months or whatever it was that they did. There's also the ones that sort of say this happened overnight, but actually it's taken them, 10 years since they began their business. Then suddenly something's happened and they've had that growth. So, take those stories with an absolute pinch of salt. There are literally very little overnight success stories. And I'm not going to say they don't exist. There are the odd one. It's very rare that someone by chance lands on something and boom, it blows up overnight. It does happen, I'm sure. Maybe we can find a story where it literally did happen from absolute nothing, started it and bang. But they are 1 in a million. They're very unusual. So instead of thinking that's the guideline, that's the goalpost to have this overnight success, think for most people, 99.999999999% of people, it takes more time, and it's okay. That's normal. So instead of thinking that it should be that overnight success, let's think, what can I do to get there faster? And that's exactly why focusing in on some of the stuff I've talked about today, really nailing your strategy, your positioning, having the right offer, that all happens before you're out there doing all the stuff that keeps you busy, doing all the social media and stuff. We shouldn't even be out there doing that until you've got your core strategy in place, unless you're doing it literally to get some feedback and research and find out what people are thinking and wanting. That's always a good idea. But people start a social media page thinking, I've started Instagram, now I should get clients. Well, not necessarily, not if you haven't done the strategic piece first, not if you don't have the offer that they want and you know who you're speaking to. If your friends and family and your network are on your social media page and they're following you because they like you, that's different. They're not necessarily going to buy from you. So I think I'm adding in some extra bonus lessons there, but they're my 8 lessons from 8 years. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I love sharing the lessons. So I'll be back with some more if you guys would like to hear more. So please let me know. Get in touch. Send me a DM over on Instagram. Send me an email. Maybe just reply to my email when I send this out to you. If you're not on my email list, and you'd love to hear more about the podcast, I always share some extra pieces in my emails, bit of behind the scenes. Plus, you'll know what episodes are coming out and when. So you can jump on that over at my website. And otherwise, I'll speak to you next week. Enjoy your weekend. How about this? You and me, 20 minutes, and you've got the inside scoop on the 5 things that you need to have in your business so that you're easily attracting high-paying, committed clients without doing time-intensive cold outreach or crazy social media schedules or any of this other fluff that can literally keep you busy on the marketing treadmill forever. Well, none of that's really necessary when you've got your strategy dialed in and you've got the right offer for the right clients. Let me show you what it is that you need to have in your business. I've recorded a quick video for you. Head over to jessicaosborne.com/5keys video to get access and watch it now. 20 minutes and you're done. How good is that? Chat soon. Bye.